Here's the thing. Markets are chaos. And the one thing I know for sure, I'm probably wrong about a lot of this. I'm in the arena every day, staying alive and learning in real time, just like you. I'm Stowe, and this is Patterns and Static. All right, welcome to Patterns and Static. This is going to be a new thing. I'm going to release these every week as kind of a companion to the Substack that I've been writing. This is just kind of something that I've wanted to do for a long time. I like making podcasts. I like writing. And something I'm doing this year is trying to do a lot more of the things that I like to do. So here you go. A little bit about me. Real fast, if you don't know who I am, that's fine, but the 100 of you that are probably watching this know all this stuff already, so I'll be quick. I've been trading for about 5.5 years now, not professionally. I started about a year and a half ago to trade as my job. Yeah, a year and a half ago or so. Also last year, I began to live stream as part of the Ninja Trader Live YouTube channel, which became a very rewarding thing for me. I found that I really enjoyed that. Loved talking to new people, meeting traders, talking about markets every day. And it really opened me up to a lot of that stuff. So that's pretty much who I am, where I'm at. I trade every day. I'm just a normal dude. I'm not really an influencer. I'm not really not an influencer. I don't think I'm influencing anything. I do have some affiliate codes now, so that's new. I don't know. But anyway, so what I wanted to get into today is kind of something that I've been thinking about a lot lately in January. Today's recording is being made on February 7th, so we've gone through the process of the new year starting. And something that always happens to me in January is I just get smoked. No real way around that. I just get decimated. Normally because I have a really good December, almost always. December, especially the end of December where things are slow and grindy, that's my niche. That's what I really like. And I can get in there and press with some size, and then January shows up. And it's always a whole different ball game. There's no real way around that. And what I've done in the past is I've failed to recognize that transition into January, and I've let it wipe me out. It sucks. But I've taken big hits in January. This year, I posted the first profitable January I've ever had as a trader. And I was texting all my friends. I texted Leo. I was like, your boy did it. But we'll get into a little bit of that, and we'll get into what I mostly want to talk about is drawdown management and tilt management and what those things actually mean while you're inside of them. They're not necessarily bad things. They are, they're good tools, and you need to get through those to get better. Like, you can't ever get good, I don't think, without having a extended period of drawdown at least every now and again. But the goal is, for me, is to always make the distance between my mistakes further apart. So if I make a mistake in January, and normally I'll make that mistake again in a month, if I can push that mistake off until March, that's progress for me. And this is also all about defining your own success and what that means to you, because we live in a social media world where, a bunch of traders who are all on their own and alone, making their own money and knowing the truth about their own scenarios, they all talk into the internet, and what part of that is true, what part is, good knowledge you can take away. Ultimately, it doesn't matter, because when you're alone in the arena by yourself, that's where you have to be at your best, and you're the only one that's responsible for that. So I don't know. We're going to talk about all those things, but welcome to the podcast. This is episode 1 of patterns and static. And also I'm filming it too, because they told me that the internet told me that this is good. People want to watch this. So I don't know. If you don't want to watch me do this, it would be much easier for me to just talk and not film it. But anyway, yeah. So the first thing I want to talk about, drawdown is not the enemy. It is vital. Going through drawdown is a natural part of this work that we do. No one just lives in a world where they just trade and make money forever without ever going through some extended period of drawdown. Because the things that work for you, sometimes they eventually change as the market changes, and those things stop working. And when they stop working, they stop making you money, and you need to adapt your strategies, right? Now, this happens in NQ and ES, which is what I primarily trade. As volatility expands and contracts, those ranges expand and contract. Also, there's some macro stuff probably in there too, like news-driven things. I can think of a million off the top of my head over the years, like, I don't know, the Ukraine war, that was a wild month. When Trump introduced the tariffs in April and VIX got to 40, like, that was crazy. So, like, just a normal example is what worked in March of 2025 did not work in April of 2025 because everything had changed. Trump was putting tariffs on and taking tariffs off, and literally every day was madness. So you had to adapt. And if you didn't adapt, then you got wiped out. So the main thing I want to get to is, while you're in a drawdown, which is a natural part of the process, you need to protect yourself. However, we also are aware that you cannot successfully trade from a point of fear. And so how do you balance those two things? Because those are two very similar ideas that you have to be doing the opposite of, right? You need to protect yourself, which kind of makes you feel like you should be afraid of what you're doing, but you can't trade properly from a place of fear. So what do? The goal is, don't avoid the discomfort. Don't try to push the discomfort away, but sit in it long enough that you can give yourself the positive rep of getting out of the discomfort and getting back into your, the good side of variance. Because if you're a good trader and you can trade profitably, variance will come back for you eventually. You just need to survive while you're in it. Where people get in trouble is when they don't protect themselves while they're in drawdown. And it's not the drawdown itself that hurts you. It's the way that you behave and how you act while you're in that drawdown. Because as soon as you start to bank some losses in a row, all of a sudden you start to get afraid. And then you're doing both things, right? You're not protecting yourself while you're in drawdown, and you're trading from a point of fear. And we've all been there, right? Like, you're staring at the screen, you're in a position that you should not be in. You should have exited this position 9,000 years ago, and now you're just sitting there with a hope and a prayer that it's going to come back for you, and it won't, and it won't. And so you sit there frozen. You can't click the button. You can't get out of the trade, and this doom washes over you. And it's also like, this is where a lot of imposter syndrome shows up. This is where a lot of other stuff shows up too. And I think that this feeling, and I also think that, I've been thinking about this a lot, I think that what tilt really is it's our body's fight or flight or freeze response trying to protect us from an uncomfortable scenario. So what are some uncomfortable scenarios that we get in while we're trading? Now, there's some that are self-induced that we should never be in, and those are being oversized, trading outside of our process, trading outside of, our rules, anything that we are doing that we know we're not supposed to do, that's self-inflicted discomfort. Now, that's easy to get rid of. It doesn't mean that it's perfect, but we can get rid of that by not doing those things. Don't trade outside your rules. know what size you should have, stay within those means, and also stay within your process. You know what it should be, just stay in it. It's hard to do all the time, and I don't do it all the time. I'm not perfect, but I'm better at it than I used to be. So it just takes practice. Now there's other uncomfortable things that we can't control, like drawdown. I feel like the same discomfort that happens when we are putting those, when we're doing the self-inflicted discomfort, is also the same response that we get while we're in drawdown. So we want to fight, flight, or freeze over here for the self-inflicted stuff. We want to do that same stuff over here too when we're not trading our best. So how do we get away from that? I think one of the best things that you can do to get away from that is to get really in touch with that feeling and recognize it when it's coming on. And this all goes into the way that I trade too, because I'm looking for patterns all the time. And those patterns, once they exist, I remember them, and then I'm able to bring those back up again. And when they show up again, I'm able to remember what happened last time, and it helps me trade. Looking for patterns. The podcast is called Patterns and Static, so here we are. You can do the same thing with those emotions. So when you feel the need to oversize to make your trade back, when you feel like shutting down, when you feel any sort of discomfort that you know you have felt in the past when you make a mistake, that is job one. And as soon as you recognize those things, you need to have a set of actions to take in order to begin to protect yourself. Like walk away from the screen. Like you need to do a quick meditation to identify your emotions. We'll talk about that a little bit. Any of those things, but you need to be recognizing emotional patterns within yourself in the same way that you recognize chart patterns, patterns on the DOM, patterns on the tape. It's the same game because you're versus you also at the same time that you're versus the market, right? Before we get into some of that other stuff, quick plug, this is a podcast. If you want to support me, the Substack is always going to be free. Podcast is always going to be free. You don't have to support me if you don't want to. But if you do, the prop firm funding firm that I promote and endorse is called Lucid Trading. And they're the only one that I'm willing to really talk about because I know those dudes and I know that that's a safe place for me to send people and that you're going to be treated fairly when you go there. We'll do a lot of episodes in the future around prop firms, how I trade them, how I use them as leverage, things like that. But if you want to experiment with that, or if you're just a person that knows what that is and just wants to go buy accounts and help me out, that would be cool. You can go to lucidtrading.com and use code STOWE, STOWE, for the best deal. It'll always work for the best code. And if that rubs you the wrong way, that's fine. Just use their own code or trade with somebody else. It's okay. But I got to say it, right? Okay, back to the thing. So some stuff that I like to do is part of my pre-market plan. I do a 10-minute guided meditation that is about identifying what emotions I am feeling and also what physical feelings I am feeling. Now, that's I just said feelings like a bunch of times in a row. And yeah, this is about feelings. So if you're uncomfortable getting in your feelings, then yeah, you should just skip this episode. We'll talk about something else later. That's funny, feelings. The idea is before you trade, you might not realize how you feel. You might not realize how your body feels. Like maybe you're getting sick that day. It's the same thing, right? So I do this 10-minute check-in with myself, guided meditation. You can just Google it. There's a million. Just Google guided meditation, identifying emotions. And it takes 10 minutes, does some breathing, gets you in a good headspace. And the idea behind these is you don't want to try to override them. When you find an emotion, you just want to let it sit there. Give it space to be itself and just exist. And so you're not trying to push it away. You're not trying to make it bigger. You just recognize that it's there. And there's some magic in that happens. I don't know how it works. It's just some wizardry. But when you do that, it makes you feel better. And it makes it feel like, you at least have an understanding of where you're at. Because you need to be in tune with your emotions and your physical self in order to be able to perform at the level you need to perform in this job. Because it's hard. It's a high performance job. It's really hard. So I do that to start. There are also times when I do this in the middle of the day. Like if I take 3 stop losses in a row, I need to go hit this for sure. Because the chart is not, the chart's not helping either. So there's no amount of, this is something I try to remind myself of. It's easier to do when you're not trading, but there is no amount of staring at the chart that is going to make you feel any better when you're not feeling good when you're trading. So when you take 3 stop outs in a row, just glaring at the next 5 minutes of candles is not going to fix it. You need to walk away. You need to cleanse your eyes, go take a drink of water, go get a coffee, do a 10-minute emotional check-in with yourself, and then see where you're at. And I guarantee, pretty sure, I don't know if I want to guarantee anything, but I'm pretty sure if you did that in that moment, took your 3rd stop out, bounced, 10-minute mindfulness meditation, came back, I'm pretty sure that you would be in a better place than you were when you left the desk. And, I'm open to hear how I would really like this podcast to be an interaction too. So as we close out that part of that segment, please tell me, I think there's a spot in the Substack where you can write, you can reply. I'm still learning how all this stuff works, so you're going to have to bear with me, but please tell me, like, what are some things that help you when you're managing your drawdowns? What are things that helped you in the past? Because I'll learn just as much from you folks as you will learn from me, probably more. So please let us know. Also, if you have any questions about, like, I've been feeling this when this happens. I've been feeling this when this happens. Please reach out. I want you to know that, like, you're not going to say anything to me that I am going to think is ridiculous or laugh at. This is going to be a good place for you to be open about the stuff that you're struggling with. And I think you'll find that there are a lot more people that are with you than are going to point out that, you have flaws. Because we all do. We've all done all this stuff. So, now, we've talked about all this stuff that sucks, right? So, drawdown sucks. All these negative emotions suck. Feeling like garbage sucks. Tilt sucks. You get your body in a fight, flight, or freeze state, which is never good. Like, it's an uncomfortable response to being uncomfortable. Nobody likes it. So, what's the good part? Now, the good part is when you come out of the other side of these things, it's awesome. Not only is it awesome because you're done feeling like garbage, but it's also awesome because you have made true progress as a trader and as an individual. When you come out of the other side of this thing, you build a resilience muscle that is always going to be there for you. And every time you build this muscle, it gets a little stronger and it gets a little stronger and it gets a little stronger. I don't think there's an end to building it. So I don't think I can tell you that, like, when you get to 5 years, you're strong and you can handle everything. And personally, I think if anybody tells you that they're, invincible and they can just weather any situation, I think they're full of shit, for sure. I think you're always working on this, and this has just got to be a part of your daily work forever, as long as you decide to be a trader. But it gets easier, and it gets more rewarding when you get through those things. Your resilience becomes the reward, because when you get out of a drawdown, you also start winning again, which is cool, because, that's fun. But when you successfully survived a drawdown, learned a bunch of stuff from it, not blown up, and then you make it to the other side, that is going to be there for you next drawdown. You're going to be able to call back on this moment and be like, hey, I made it through the last time this happened. What did I do then? I'm going to do that stuff again. And personally, I've been doing it for 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. I hit a really gnarly drawdown. I started, January started well. It got really weird in the middle. I don't remember what exactly it was, but like there was a bunch of, there's just Trump tweet stuff. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. But it got extremely weird. And I found myself, this is a big problem with my trading game all the time. I find myself detaching from the idea that I am a scalper and that I just take base hits and leave. And then all of a sudden, I'm turning my trades into some sort of like other thesis while I'm into them. I don't know why it's my natural thing to do, but this is something I have to pull myself back from all the time. Like I'll take 50 points and I'll have a 50-point runner. And then all of a sudden, the A-plus setup that I took gets chased by a lot of B and C entries, and it's a whole problem. We'll talk about that some other episode. But I remembered what I needed to do. I needed to size down. I needed to check back in with my emotions. I needed to go back to hitting base hits. These are all things on my drawdown checklist I know that I got to do as soon as I get into them. And I just did it, and I slugged it out for 2.5 weeks. It was not very fun at all. It was not fun at all. But being in the mix in a safe way, because I was sized down, I wasn't at risk of giving away, my profits for January, but I was still able to sit in the price action and sit inside the uncomfortable moment and get through it. Because you don't want to just leave also. You need to find a way to sit in that uncomfortability and let it exist so you can get to the other side of it and get the reward for getting through it. I think so, anyways. So I did that, sat in the uncomfortability for 2.5 weeks. I was able to, some stuff this week at the beginning of the first, so this is the 7th of February. So Monday and Tuesday, not great days, but I was still protecting myself. I was still in a mode where, I was trading really small, 2 or 3 micros on NQ, widen my stops, widen my targets, just taking base hits, just sitting in the action to see what was happening. And I started to see stuff that I saw in 2023, and this stuff rolled me in 2023. Because what happens is on really big down days, trend down days in 2023 would have these like massive explosions of short covering that would just like blow you up. So if you were trying to press short, you just couldn't do it. And what would happen is you see these explosions, you see a bunch of exhaustion, and then you see sellers step on the gas again. I started to see that for the first time in a very long time. So I was able to adjust my process a little bit and get on sides for Wednesday and Thursday. So I was trading short a lot, which, a lot of is not very comfortable for me. And then Friday, on the February 6th, we had a big trend up day. And I don't know why. Shorts covering, who knows? But that thing is my fat pitch. That whole day is my A-plus day. I know exactly how to trade it when it unfolds like that. And so I smashed it. And had I not protected myself in January, and had I definitely not protected myself at the beginning of the week this week, I wouldn't be around for my fat pitch day. I would have been smoked. I would have been out of money. I would have been in a horrible mental place to trade. It would have been terrible. So the reward for processing a drawdown correctly and managing it is that you will be there for your days that you need to hit home runs in. Plain and simple. That's it. So I think that concludes episode 1 of Patterns in Static. Thanks for listening. Subscribe to the Substack thing. If you feel like supporting, lucidtrading.com, use code STOW. That'd be sick. And yeah, just remember, we're all working on this together. It's called patterns and static because, I'm not sure. And I'm probably wrong. And I think it's important for me in my process to keep that in mind. And so, I'm just like you. I'm just like any other trader trying to figure it out every day. And yeah, hopefully you enjoy these podcasts and enjoy what I make and it resonates with you. So, all right. See you next time.